Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshwari Mata ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai. In our last discourse, we heard the beginning of the story of Satyavratra. We'll go on with chapter 11. King Janamejaya said, "Oh, Vedavyasa one, intelligent one, did the prince free himself afterwards of the curse inflicted on him by Muni Vasishta?" Vyasa said, "O king, Satyavrata, cursed by Vasishta, was transformed into a demonical state, but he became a great devotee of the Devi, the Divine Mother, and passed away his time in that ashram. One day, he, repeating slowly the 9-lettered mantra of the Bhagavati, wished to perform a homa ceremony of burnt offerings and oblations of the said mantra, and came to the Brahmins, bowed down to them with great devotion and purity, and said, 'O venerable gods of the earth, kindly hear me. I, with my head bowed down, pray to you that you will be my priest. You are all versed in the Vedas, so kindly do for me the homa ceremony equal to 1/10 part of japam for my success. O Brahmanas, my name is Satyavratra. I am a prince. You ought to do this work for me for my welfare.' Thus hearing the prince's words, the Brahmin said, 'O prince, you are cursed by your guru, and you are now turned into a demonical state. You have no right to the Vedas, especially you are now in this terrible state. It is blamed by all the persons, so now you are not fit to be initiated into this ceremony.' Hearing them, the prince got very sad and dejected and thought, 'Fie on life, what shall I do now in living even in the forest? My father has forsaken me. I am banished from the kingdom. Again, by my guru's curse, I have got this demonical state. I therefore can't decide what to do.' The prince, then collecting fuel, prepared the funeral pyre for himself, remembering the Chandika Devi and repeating her mantra, decided to jump into the fire. Lighting the pyre in front, the prince, standing with clasped palms, began to chant the hymns to the Mahamaya before entering into the fire. At that moment, the Devi Bhagavati, knowing that the prince was ready to burn himself, came instantly to that spot on the back of the lion by the aerial route. She manifested herself before him and spoke in a deep voice like a rain cloud. 'O virtuous one, what is all this? What have you settled all this? Never throw yourself into the fire. Be patient, O fortunate one. Your father is now aged. He will give you his kingdom and will go to the forest for tapasya. Therefore, O hero, do leave your depression of spirits. O prince, tomorrow the ministers of your father will come to you and take you there. By my grace, your father will install you on the throne, and in due time, he will conquer his desires, and he will undoubtedly go to Brahmaloka.' Thus saying, the Devi vanished in that spot. The prince, too, desisted from his purpose of entering into the fire. In the meanwhile, the high-souled Narada went to Ayodhya and at once informed everything to the king. The king became very sad and began to repent very much, hearing the son's resolve to burn himself. The virtuous king, grieved at heart for his son, said to his ministers, 'You all are aware of the turning out of my son. I have forsaken my intelligent son, Satyavratra. Though he was very spiritual and worthy to get the kingdom, yet at my command he instantaneously went away to the forest. Void of wealth, he, practicing forgiveness, passed his time in study, particularly in spiritual knowledge. But Vasishta Devi cursed him and made him look like a demonical person. Very much distressed by pain and sorrow, he was ready to burn himself, but the Mahadevi preventing him, he desisted from this purpose. So go hurriedly and, consoling my powerful eldest son, bring him at once to me. I am now calm and quiet, and of a settling disposition. So I am determined to practice tapasya. My son is now capable to govern the subjects. I will now install my son on the throne and then retire to the forest. So he gladly sent his ministers to his son. The ministers too gladly went there and consoled the prince, and with respect brought him to the Ayodhya city. Seeing Satyavratra with the matted hair on his head, with dirty clothes and thin and worn out with cares, the king began to think within himself, "Oh, what a cruel act I have done, though I knew everything about religion, in banishing my intelligent son, quite fit to govern my kingdom." Thus thinking, he embraced his son by his arms, and consoling him, made him sit by his throne. The king, versed in politics, then began to speak gladly with the suffocated feelings of love to his son sitting by the side of him. "O son, your highest duty is to keep your mind always on religion and to respect the Brahmins. Never speak falsely anywhere and follow any bad course in any way. Rather, the words of the spiritual good persons ought to be fully observed. The ascetics ought to be worshipped. Senses must be controlled, and the wicked, cruel robbers are certainly to be put away. O son, for one's success, one should consult with one's ministers and keep that as secret by all means. Any enemy, whosoever insignificant he may be, a clever king should never overlook him. The ministers, if they are attached to other masters and if they come round afterwards, don't put your trust in them. Spies should be kept to watch friends and foes. Show your loving regards to the religion always, and make charitable gifts. One ought not to argue in vain, and always avoid the company of the wicked. O son, you should worship the Maharishis and perform various sacrifices. Those who are inordinately addicted to women and gambling, never is advisable to be with them. Always show your back to gambling, drinking, music, and to prostitutes, and try to make your subjects follow the same. Early in the morning at the Brahma Muhurta, every day you should get up from your bed and bathe and perform other your spiritual duties. O son, be initiated by the Guru and the Devi mantra and worship with devotion the Supreme Force, the Bhagavati. Human birth is crowned with success by worshiping her lotus feet. O son, he who performs once the great puja, the Mahadevi, and drinks the water with which her feet are worshipped, has never to enter again into the womb of his mother. Know this is certain. The Mahadevi is all that is seen, and she herself is again the seer and witness of the nature of intelligence. Filled with these ideas, rest fearless like the universal soul. Do your daily duties, go to the Brahmins' assembly, and calling on them, ask the conclusion of the Dharma Sastras. The Brahmins versed in the Vedas and Vedantas are objects of veneration and must be worshipped. Give them always according to merits, cows, lands, gold, etc. Don't worship any Brahmin who is illiterate. Don't give to illiterate more than their bellyful wants, O child. Never trespass Dharma out of covetousness, and remember always not to insult ever afterwards any Brahmins. The Brahmins are the cause of the Ksatras. The more so, they are the terrestrial gods. Honor them with all your care, and this never flinch from your duties. Fire comes out of water. The Ksatras come out of the Brahmins. Iron comes out of stone. The power of these flow everywhere. But if there be any clash between one thing and its source, then that clash dies away in the source. Know this is quite certain. The king who wants his own welfare and improvement must by gift and humility show his respect, especially to the Brahmins. Follow the maxims of the moralities as dictated in the Dharma Sastras. Amass wealth according to rules of justice and fill the treasury. Here ends the 11th chapter of the 7th book about the story of Satyavratra in the Puranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai, Vishveshwari Mata ki jai.